2, 1. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Delusions of Grandeur. I am your host, David Streggy, but today we are going to go on about a mini-series that happened in 2011. It started production in 2009, but it came on to the Sci-Fi Channel in 2011, and then it premiered on disc on the 3rd of April in 2012. And here is my copy of the film. It is directed by Leigh Scott, who is
very nice.
He's originally grew up here in Milwaukee as a director. Then he went to New York, California. I think back to New York again. But so before we get into first impressions, I'm going to tell you what IMDb says about the film. So Dorothy Gale discovers that her best-selling novels are actually based on supposedly childhood memories of her time in Oz, and that she may be in danger of experiencing it all over again. The film stars Polly Roges Redding, Eliza Swanson, Billy Boyd, Sean Astin, among others. So, and there was a movie adaptation apparently that was edited down. I wouldn't say filmed in 2012, because I believe what they did is they took the miniseries and they cut it down, and this particular miniseries was based on the Frank L. Baum novels of The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, Ozma of Oz, The Road of Oz, and The Magic of Oz. So these adventures in Oz is what these are based on. And Maya Sara, Lance Henriksen, and Christopher Lloyd are also part of this particular production. I saw this myself when it came out on the Sci-Fi Channel, and I enjoyed it. I mean, it was longer with commercials and whatnot. I mean, I hate commercials.
Tell me about that.
Although I love certain commercials, I don't like sitting through them. So I'm glad that we actually recorded it first and then watched it, because I could not have sat through and watched every single commercial that happened. It's like I don't want to listen to you selling me crap when I'm trying to watch a movie. It's just it's rude. So
exactly. And to
I
be
can understand
honest,
during a halftime show or before or after. You can montage me all you want before and after, but
exactly.
in between, get the fuck out of here.
Exactly. We should start a movement about that.
But why don't we go with your first impression, and I'll continue with mine after that.
Oh, yeah, makes sense.
So,
Well,
when did you first see this?
yesterday, yesterday was my first time watching this mini series, and it was pretty good. I must say I enjoyed it. It never really gets boring from the beginning to the end. It's a very eventful story, maybe for a person like me who kind of struggles to pick up some details while watching something for the first time. Well, you already know I have these focus issues. I don't know why. So since this is a very eventful story with a lot going on at the same time, there were moments when I somewhat struggled to piece all the details together and so on. But that's my problem. I can't really criticize the show because of that when it's kind of my fault. But aside from that, yeah, the show is really very good. It's kind of similar to the Teen Man show that we were discussing a while ago. Both are modern takes on the story of the Wizard of Oz, set in the modern world with modern technology and things like that. And maybe I would say I enjoyed this one a little better than the Tin Man. Maybe this one was a bit more intense, more suspenseful, in my opinion. But yeah, both were pretty good, actually.
I'm I'm going to be honest about this particular one. Though I enjoyed both productions that were put onto the Sci-Fi Channel, I enjoyed Tin Man more than I enjoyed this one. This one, um, though I like I like the world building that he's done. It's very the beginning makes me feel like I'm watching a Lord of the Rings movie. Um, it's not that I hated it in the least, but the very beginning. I mean, you got a narrator explaining like this magic and this book, and you got soldiers going towards a castle and then a war. I mean, you may not have the one ring to rule them all or anything like that, but it definitely very much felt like a Lord of the Rings beginning. Yeah, you know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah, I do see what you mean, although that thought didn't really occur to me while I was watching it, but yeah, I see what you mean.
having a father who liked to watch the Lord of the Rings over and over, especially the extended versions, somewhat while I was growing up, it makes me think that he was thinking Lord of the Rings with this, and I'm not far off from that because there are a couple of people in here that were in Lord of the Rings. We've got
That,
Billy Boyd, who shows up as the love interest in the story. um, we've got Sean Astin, who ends up being another small person. Um, which hobbits were very small creatures, supposedly. So to me, he was just another almost Lord of the Rings character, and
yeah,
you can definitely tell that this movie was influenced by Return to Oz a little bit, because there is a character in here
yeah.
that displayed many heads.
Well, there are actually, I remember two characters from Return to Oz.
That reminded you of characters from Return to Oz.
No, aside from the lady with many heads, there was this one scene when the Tin Man was fighting the Gnome
Oh
King.
yeah, the Gnome King. Yes. So there are aspects of characters that have been in past film adaptations. So to me, I feel like um, he built upon what was already known within the Oz universe, and it kind of was set in that world. So, what do you think about the plot here of this? The fact that we get this whole beginning. Okay, Dorothy evidently was sent back with this key, and then all of a sudden she's a children's book, not a novelist, growing up with supposedly her Uncle Henry and Aunt Em. What do you think of Dorothy as a character first?
She was a pretty good character. Maybe there are moments when she shows a bit of some naive optimism, but she was nice. She was pretty good and pretty good looking as well.
Okay. Um, and I guess the first couple of characters that we meet is her Uncle Henry. What do you think about her Uncle Henry?
Ooh, this is, well, based on what I have seen so far of these Oz stories, this was a very radical change of the character because of the plot twist about him that we will probably get into later on. It, which in my opinion makes him a pretty interesting version of the character. I actually like the fact that, unlike some other versions of him and Tem, where they just dismiss the whole thing as Dorothy's imagination and stuff, this one directly acknowledges that what she experienced was true and everything. And
But they sort of kept it secret from
uh,
her, you know.
oh, well, yeah, until a certain point he did.
Well, yeah, that's kind of different, and the fact that Aunt M is in fact already dead. Um,
Mm.
that's one thing that I don't think was ever really in the story at all. Um,
At least in what I have seen so far, no.
and I don't think Uncle Henry ever died in any of the adaptations that we've seen so far yet either.
It did.
So that was kind of a radical change. Um, I don't think that this particular world is as dark as the Tin Man's world was. Um, I feel like that one went darker than this one. Like I felt there was more comedy in this particular adaptation than there was darkness.
Yeah. Well, okay, yeah. In the Tin Man, there were some dark moments about the Tin Man's family and stuff like that. Although I didn't really get the impression that that story was extremely dark either.
Well, this wasn't necessary. This particular miniseries wasn't necessarily focused on the Tin Man's story se. But in fact, they thought that Billy Boyd's character was Tin Man at first.
Yeah, that
I'm the
was
Tin Man.
interesting.
I'm the Tin Man. Uh, that's the Tin Man.
Yeah, it was interesting. Before the real Tin Man appeared, I did think he would end up being that one.
Well, before we get too far into to the plot lines, so apparently, um, Dorothy Gale apparently works at a confectionery shop. Like I think she works as a cashier at like a candy store or something similar to a convenience store.
Something like that, I think, yeah.
And so does her friend Alan. who we later learn, I guess, is the Scarecrow.
Yeah, that was an interesting twist.
But she gets a mysterious letter, and I actually rewatched the beginning this morning a little bit. Did you notice that the letter that she was sent did not say FedEx on it? It actually said Twister Express on the letter.
No, no, I didn't notice.
I thought that was kind of funny. That it came from Twister Express. I was like, that's that's kind of cool. It's kind of a cool prop to have for the thing. I mean, I start to notice details as I go through again, and
Makes sense.
I only got to a certain point, but that's okay. When I was watching the miniseries yesterday, I kind of have focus issues myself sometimes, so I missed some of the beginning while we were watching. So that's why I went back and watched at least the beginning. But yeah, she gets a letter from an agent who sends her 2 tickets or several tickets and all paid expense trip to New York. Which she's kind of surprised about, but she's got some misgivings about going because she wants to take care of her uncle. And so when she gets home to speak to her uncle, and her uncle's like, "It's time for you to leave the roast to get the fuck out of here," you know. And he's like, "Why would you wish something on someone who doesn't want this kind of thing to happen?" So she gets packed, she gets ready to go, and lo and behold, the agent actually shows up with a car specifically for her. Like, she didn't know that she was actually going to come personally to see her. So that kind of impresses her, you know.
Mm.
And the two kind of seem to hit it off, even though what is her name anyways?
Billy Westbrook, I think.
Yeah, Billy Westbrook, and they seem to hit it off. But Billy Westbrook, what do you think of her as a character?
Oh, well, at first I somewhat liked her because the actress playing her is very beautiful. But then later on, there was this one scene where she showed a personality trait that's really my pet peeve with the modern society. When she was in the taxi and the driver, who, as we learned later, had a much more important role than we thought, but we will get into that. When she was like, I'm not, he was just trying to be polite with her, and she was, I'm not here for a conversation. That kind of antisocial attitude that many people have nowadays, and that they even promote as the right way to talk to strangers. That
Yeah,
that's something.
even in high school, we had cheerleaders who would act like they had their noses stuck up in the air, and they looked down at you and were like, "Oh my God, I got to be around this." Ah.
Uh, yeah, pretty much. So when she did that, that was when I took instant dislike for the character, and after that, honestly, I was glad when she turned out to be a villain.
She's the type that well, that would probably go to with a group of girls and be like, did you notice the smell of that woman as she came in through the door? I mean, good God. And then go into like their history and all their faults and whatnot, you know.
Yeah.
And then that's how the start of uh, rumors and laughing behind the person's back would start. And that's the type of person that I don't ever want to be around. Those type of people, and unfortunately, there were a lot of those back in high school.
Only then.
And not just then, even in work situations, it does not stop there. Unfortunately, it's just it seems like people run on rumors and run on laughing behind people's back or whatnot. And it's even in politics, and it's like, seriously.
Um, yeah, recently we even had some ridiculousness on our political scene. Like, well, I don't really follow politics much myself, but there was some thing about one politician making public remarks about another politician's body, and then that guy took photos of himself in underwear and posted them online, and I was like, "What the hell is going on here?"
Well, and honestly, there's been a lot of name bashing in politics, to be honest, and I'm just sick of it all. But in any case, uh, let's move on with the this story here. So she eventually gets to New York. She's shown to her apartment, I guess, and I guess she's got a deadline on her last book because apparently she's written 6 books and is writing a 7th.
I think so. Yeah.
So, but she's also there to sign a movie deal of some sort, and she ends up uh, going and meeting the people that are going to be turning it into an adaptation of sorts, and she literally gets appalled by this one girl that seems to want to dress Dorothy Gale up, even though she's like 11 years old in like leather jacket.
Oh yeah, yeah, that was pretty much a what the fuck moment until you realize that she was just trying to sabotage the whole thing.
Which, what do you think about these two characters that apparently the one guy seems like he's kind of a snob, and the other one, well, we don't know what quite to call her because ultimately, I guess she has sent these. What are these two characters called? Frickin' frack, but they're
the Makadoos.
the Muckadoos.
Yeah.
And they seem to be like these little elves that cause trouble.
Yeah, they were pretty much funny ones, especially because they look kind of tiny and innocent and stuff like that. And usually in movies, when you see a character like that, it's usually a good character. You don't normally expect someone like that to work for a villain.
No, but apparently they were sent to her place to make her remember apparently where she put the key to this book that we hear about in the beginning. What was it? The book of Al Bin or
Uh, the wizard who made the book was called the Bini Aru, I think.
yeah, Bid Aru or Bin Aru or something to that effect. And we saw that he had like given it to the the city of emeralds. That's what they called it. They didn't call it the Emerald City. They called it the City of Emeralds.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know why.
Maybe because Emerald City is copyrighted.
Hmm. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, I believe that it might have been, so that's why I think they called it the City of Emeralds instead of the Emerald City.
Possibly, although they were mentioning the Munchkins and maybe the Munchkin land too, I'm not sure anymore.
Now, where is it in this particular miniseries that you got confused?
Oh, well, there were these flashbacks that you were supposed to be putting together as the story is going on, and I had a bit of trouble putting it together while keeping track of what's going on in the present moment and putting all the chronology together in my head. Well, like I said. It's not really something to blame the show for. It's just my personal focus issue that brings me struggles like this when I'm watching something for the first and sometimes even the second time.
Well,
I
I will say this in Tin Man, they also kept her memories from her, from DG, um, um, to a certain degree. Like each area would like unlock a little bit of her memory or whatnot, at least until like the very last like thing. Whereas this this one was gradual, but it's like her memories would only start unlocking by that whatever magical dust, and then when she finally put the key together, that's when the magic, like the rest of her memory, went into her, and she remembered everything. You know, which
yeah.
that's one of the things that I don't think is fully fleshed out. That before she went back to the real world, the wizard had in fact taken her memory from her, so that the witch, um, the wicked witch, could not um, know the trick that they were going to play on her, which is giving her a book that had fake shit in it, and sending the key away in multiple pieces, so that it would take a while for the witch to even find, the finality of it. And the thing is, the key, once it was put together, held Dorothy's memories to begin with, memories of what she was to do in order to destroy her. And I think that that's something that you lost along the way because of your your focus issues. But it wasn't
I guess,
entirely
yeah.
fleshed out. It wasn't entirely fleshed out either. So
Oh,
I,
then maybe that's why.
but I could put two and two together myself. I mean, but it was interesting the different pieces that were had to be put together because of putting this key together. I like the fact that it was like a necklace, and the dog tag that Toto had, and
Mm.
the pen that the Scarecrow had. And what was the final piece? Wasn't it the globe?
Uh, Wait, the globe was also glowing green, but I think the final piece was this thing in this guy Brian's suit, in his sleeve, maybe a button or something like that.
Okay, the guy who
Mm,
eventually became the Cowardly Lion or something like
yeah,
that.
yes, yes.
Which what did you think about how things got fleshed out? I mean, eventually, I guess Glinda showed up in the real world and um, showed up to Billy Boyd's character at least, and he's the one who gave him the pen to begin with.
Mm, yeah, well, they definitely made some interesting adaptations of the original characters. One thing that this show has in common with Teen Man is that in both versions, these side characters are given a more human form. Like in the 1939 movie, the Scarecrow was really just a talking scarecrow with the emphasis on the fact that he doesn't have a brain. The Tin Man was really a piece of tin brought to life somehow. I kind of forgot how, and
And
so
he
on.
he was created by a woodsman, apparently, except he gave him no heart. And then the Cowardly Lion, well, he is his own character. I guess he's always been scared of everything.
Yeah,
He just
and
never had the courage.
yeah, and in this version they are all much more human. Well, they in Tin Man the lion was maybe more like a lion, but still he had the human intellect from what I remember, and the same thing was here. So.
Well, here I almost think like Tin Man was an afterthought. Like all of a sudden, they forgot that Tin Man even existed, and like here he is. You know,
A bit,
we forgot we forgot that there was a Tin Man in here somewhere. So let's make him appear. So and he appeared during the war, which as we learn, the Wicked Witch of the West is in fact Billy Westbrook, which she ultimately turns into this the Wicked Witch, um, more towards the part where they actually finally put most of the pieces of the key together, which I thought was kind of interesting how the key was put together, and then I guess all throughout this the whole thing was uh, apparently a revenge that the witch had planned, but she hadn't factored in that she would actually become friends with Dorothy,
yeah.
which apparently Dorothy always had the magic within her to begin with, that she was in fact the key, uh, which is kind of interesting. Even Houdini was able to make an elephant disappear from a room. You know, while people were looking one way, he was figuring out how to make that elephant disappear without people realizing it. You know, and that's what's called misdirection. So while this key was being placed back together, Dorothy had this magic within her all along. That's why Glinda said she doesn't need my help. She's got it within her. She's the only one who defeated the other witch. You know.
Yeah, although if you mean the Wicked Witch of the East, in my opinion, in the whole story, they I think they kind of overplayed the notion that Dorothy was the one who killed the Witch of the East when she was just inside the house when it landed. It's not like she was piloting the house and directed it onto the witch. She didn't kill her, come on.
What did you think of Princess Langwidere?
Ah, yeah, she was this story's version of Princess Mombi from Return to Oz. Well, she was a kind of humorous villain, in my opinion, at least. Maybe somewhat less serious than she was in Return to Oz. They changed her name for some reason, not sure why, although her story is pretty much the same. From what I remember, there was this whole story about Princess Ozma imprisoning her and things like that.
I thought it was kind of interesting how all of her heads were on this like machine that um, had rows and rows and rows of these heads, and she and spun them around mechanically so that they would appear in an instant. You know, kind of
Yeah,
like a brake wheel thing. I thought that was kind of cool.
it was. And it was especially funny later on when the fight began, when her one head gets destroyed and she just gets another one and continues.
Or in the last one where her head gets lopped off and gets run over by a taxi.
Yeah, for example.
Or I thought it was interesting how suddenly Billy Boyd's character and the lion character end up like being floated out by an umbrella, dropped, and they just so happened to drop on top of the bubble floating taxi.
Yeah, I guess they had to find a way to save those characters' lives.
Honestly, when they had gotten into that taxi, when they called him Short Round, I actually had to look at his character just to see if Leigh Scott had actually gotten a hold of a young the young kid who played in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Oh,
Because there was a little Japanese kid who was a pushcart kid who ultimately was also drove taxi, and his nickname was Short Round. So I had to see if he had actually gotten a hold of that actor, but he had not for that role. But I wonder if that's a flashback to Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Step on it, Short Round.
well, it could as well be. I mean, we did get some references to some other stories, such as Narnia, or what else did the witch mention in that scene? Narnia, Neverland, some other places like that. So I guess this may be some kind of
Well,
multiple crossover story.
it is the ever changing word or whatever. So to be honest, if the book is whatever it says it was, it could control the literal world.
Maybe.
That means any story that's ever been written.
Yeah, could be. Uh,
So, and I think that kind of reminds me of the show Once Upon a Time a bit because that went some broke the fourth dimension as well, and brought the writer in a writer into the story later on in the series, and basically he had a certain pen that he could draw with, and they used the story of the writer. I think he was actually one of the producers behind the show. But they broke boundaries with that show by bringing the writer in, and they thought that they were going to like destroy him or something like that. And there is a character that has to do with the Wicked Witch in that story. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Indeed. Yeah, I heard of Once Upon a Time. Unfortunately, I didn't watch it, but I believe it was a good show.
I have the first 4 seasons of it. I think I bought the first 4 seasons for about $40 or $30, which was a pretty damn good price at the time. They were selling some bundles for fairly cheap, so I picked up what I could. Although I need a couple more seasons of that. But in any case, yeah. So Billy Westbrook, or the otherwise known the Wicked Witch of the West, ultimately starts turning people into flying monkey battle here, where the Munchkins end up showing up, and the Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion starts to remember who he is and starts transmorphing into, and then apparently his only weapon is his roar.
Yeah, well, that was definitely very long battle, and like I said, to me personally, that was the part where it got a bit difficult to follow for me, because a lot was going on at the same time, and there were these flashbacks where I was supposed to put all the details together and figure the chronology out and so on. So, yeah, that was a bit of a struggle for me personally, but that's my problem, I guess.
What did you think about the fact that the New York cop just sat there and gave Billy Boyd his baton, and he basically lopped off her fucking head with that contraption?
I'm sorry, I had some sound glitch. Can you please repeat what you said about the cops?
The one cop, I guess Billy Boyd's character. Well, let me see what Nick Chopper, I guess his name is, and what's funny is I wonder if his name is in reference to the Woodsman.
Oh, I don't know.
But in the Woodsman that actually created the Tin Man or something like that. Just
was
thought
his
of that.
name? Was the woodsman's name revealed anywhere? I forgot.
I don't think so.
Whew.
But Brian, I guess, was the played by Barry Ratcliffe. Oh, there was a moment where he was eating donuts, and she just gave him an apple and told him that was healthier, and he just threw the apple underneath a pillow and kept on eating the donuts.
Yeah,
I thought that was funny.
indeed.
But as far as Frick and Frack's characters, I loved it when they had Nick and Brian tied up, and they were just creating these limericks.
Yeah.
Like sitting there. It's like, oh, and when they were first found out in Dorothy's apartment, she threw Sean Astin's character into the microwave, and he's like, hey, don't cook me. This is where we make our burritos.
Yeah. Actually, I was kind of surprised to see her going with a knife after something so
Well,
small, and apparently,
at first she went for a little ass knife, and then she chose a bigger knife, and the other one
mm,
was getting drunk off something in the fridge. So that was kind of funny.
definitely, like the bottle was bigger than him,
And
if I remember correctly.
that's not the only time they were eating something from her stuff, too. You know.
Yeah.
She found a Pepsi can that was on the counter that had been drunk, uh, uh, or things like that, and whatnot. I just thought that those two were hilarious with each other. You could almost like have an adventure with just them.
Mm, You could, yeah. They could make a movie on a spin-off about them.
I would definitely watch something like that, and ultimately we have her, Dorothy, um, up there with the witch, talking about friendship, and I guess she uses her magic to bring Alan back to life, I guess,
Yeah.
and then ultimately she turns the witch's magic to good and reminds her about friendship and how they can be friends, and I guess brings her to tears, which melts her, and I guess her spirit thanks her, or whatnot, and that's pretty much the end of the whole thing. But there was a pretty long battle. We got the Gnome King, which honestly, I was kind of disappointed about the Gnome King just being this big ass giant. I was thinking that he would be like this stone creature.
Uh, yeah, well, I guess they gave most characters a more human-like form.
Well, and the Tin Man was more robot than Tin Man. So, in a sense, he kind of reminded me of like a Borg,
I do see why.
because you kept hearing him go, "Zzz, zzz, zzz," and I could just imagine him saying, "Resistance is futile."
Yeah.
My name is Tin Man. Resistance is futile. I could have imagined him saying that it's not. I mean, just a few more wires and whatnot. You have a board. Anyways,
Pretty much.
but yeah, I did like the fact that um, she created that bubble for that taxi. That was kind of an intense moment. They were gonna, because they kind of Cloverfielded this dragon in the city of New York, uh, uh, sort of. I don't know if you've seen Cloverfield before, but it was a Keiju like found footage film that brought that suddenly this monster showed up in a city and started attacking people. But the
It
thing
doesn't
is,
sound familiar, I'm sorry.
well, regardless, it was kind of a kaiju-like creature with that looked like a dragon. That was terrorizing and destroying buildings in New York, and they were about to run into it with the taxi when suddenly a bubble formed around the taxi, and they flew up and over it. And then it became the absent-minded professor. Anyways, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Disney film The Absent-Minded Professor, but but he created a substance called flubber, which he put inside of a car, and he floated it up over the town.
Oh, sounds like an interesting idea.
For a movie that was done in the 40s or to 50s, yeah, not bad.
Huh. Wow.
There was even a sequel to it called Son of Flubber.
I'm surprised I haven't heard of it. I mean,
If I
I
remember correctly, the Chamber of Secrets, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, had a
the
car
hair.
floating to Hogwarts.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I'm just thinking of like movies that have cars floating in them.
Yeah, of course, I did watch the Harry Potter movies, and not only because of owls.
What did you think about the CGI in here? Was it relatively believable, or do you think it was kind of like over the top, like some of the things you couldn't imagine happening?
Well, maybe there are some things that could have theoretically been done better with the modern technology and everything, but it was okay. I'm not too picky about that. I'm not one of those who will bash some show or movie for not having a perfectly realistic CGI.
I guess my thing is the pacing was somewhat slow in spots, especially when it came to spots dealing with like the Wicked Witch of the West speeches. So I would be curious at how shortened this became for the film version. See how they dressed it up for that, but we never got a physical release of the film. We got a physical release of the miniseries.
Wow, really?
Yeah. So to me, um, I think it got a theatrical release, but I don't think it got a physical release. This
Phew,
got a physical release, and it's 2 hours and 45 minutes long.
yeah, it is quite long. Well, not as long as the Tin Man, but yeah.
Yeah, that was longer. But I liked the green screened areas that they did in that particular miniseries. This miniseries, I can deal with. I can deal with the green screened areas. I feel like they were a little bit more fake looking. Except for like maybe when you saw like in the backgrounds where the wizard was, and some of the areas where you find the soldiers marching towards the castle, and whatnot. But I think for whatever budget that they had, it was okay for that particular period in time.
Probably, yeah. I don't even know what their budget was, how much they invested in this project.
Well, let's see. This project, let's see. It's not necessarily telling me the budget here full technical aspects. No, it's not necessarily telling me it's a budget per se. Sometimes it tells me the budget of the stuff, but it's not necessarily showing me the budget. But it does say that this was filmed in Connecticut, Ridgefield. So Deborah Ann's sweet shop in the very beginning, that was in Ridgefield. Bridgeport, Hartford, New York City, a little bit, and Norwalk, Connecticut, I guess.
Ooh,
So those were some of the filming locations of this particular film or
cool.
miniseries. Other than that, if you could take a favorite scene from this film, what would you take from it?
Maybe I would take the scene where we discover the true story of Uncle Henry, because to me personally that was the most surprising plot twist, where it was revealed that apparently he originally wasn't Dorothy's uncle, but she was his aunt or something like that. They said something like that, like she was, if I pieced all these details together correctly, like she was in Oz when he was a little boy or something like that, and by the time she returned, he was already an old man. So that was how he became her uncle, as supposedly time flows differently in Oz and in the regular world. So yeah, that was to me at least the most surprising plot twist. So that was pretty interesting. And I also liked the very ending. That was probably, to me at least, the funniest scene when those two cops ended up in Oz, and there was a talking sunflower telling them not to park there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when we found out that Languid Deer was still alive and she got to Oz, and as far as we got to know, she was there to start terrorizing the cops from that point on.
Yeah. So apparently, some of the story was put together by Eliza Swenson, who played Billy Westbrook. Some of the
Oh,
story was put together by Leigh Scott, and some of the story was put together by Chris Campbell. But these were all based on characters by L. Frank Baum. Now, I believe Frank, which is Dorothy Gale's father, was played by Jeffrey Combs, which, as we will know, he's from Reanimator, The Frightening, Would You Rather, Bride of the Reanimator, and films of that nature. Um, I love I love that he has been part of this franchise in some way, shape, or form. You have seen him in the remake of House on Haunted Hill as the ghost
oh,
of the head doctor dude. He played the ghost that kept killing people.
oh, wow! I'm. I didn't recognize him. I'm kind of bad at memorizing faces.
I'm not. which is thankful for me because I recognized um, him right off the bat. Now, what did you think of the character of Scarecrow, or otherwise known as Alan? Did you think he did okay, or?
Yeah, he did okay. There was only one thing that left me kind of wondering about him. Like if he was supposedly all made of hay under his skin, like how come he never discovered that until that point? Like, did he never have a paper cut or something like that that would make him realize that he doesn't bleed?
Oh, maybe he just hadn't like remembered, and because he hadn't remembered, he'd become human.
I guess. But
I don't
yeah,
know.
aside from that, he was pretty cool. I liked his character.
Okay. What did you think about Toto? He wasn't exactly a Scottish Terrier, was he?
Yeah, he was an entirely different breed of dog, but he was okay. The only thing that I was wondering was how is it possible that he is still alive? He was if he even looked the same way in the flashback when Dorothy's parents were still alive. Okay, I guess he was sometime in Oz when where the time flows differently and so on, but still, I was left wondering: is this dog immortal?
You know, even TikTok showed up in here here very minimally, but right before she was sent to Oz in one of those flashbacks, you saw a little tiny, teeny TikTok sending like as like one of the mechanical like things that helped ship her back to the real world. I don't know if you noticed but he was very
Unfortunately,
tiny and animated, but you only saw him for like a brief second, but
uh,
he was there.
unfortunately, I didn't notice. But if you can tell me at which point it is, I can check it out later.
It's at least the section where they were going backwards and talking or showing. Um, I'm not exactly sure where per se what timing, but when they were going back and showing that Dorothy Gale had said that she couldn't do all this, and they kind of went through how she'd been sent again backwards. It's around that point in time. So
Ah,
um, uh, right before she gets sent back, you see little TikTok in this like little mechanism that helped uh, send her magically back with the key.
oh, cool.
He was really tiny, but you could tell with his little hat, you know, that it was TikTok, but he was definitely a lot smaller.
Yeah,
He was almost a muckadoo, but
yeah. I should go back and check that out.
I like the muckadoos honestly because at the end dude had jumped down and he was like, you know, the dog's coming near.
Yeah.
I think that, those two had fun with their roles. You could tell that some of them were, in fact, having fun with their roles. I think. Oh, and I was looking on the cast, and there was, in fact, someone, one of the heads, I think, was. Oh, yeah, and it says TikTok was Leigh Scott.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Which I wonder if he was the narrator or whatnot in the very beginning. And I guess Jack Pumpkinhead was in here somewhere too.
Oh, I didn't notice him
I didn't.
either,
I didn't notice
unfortunately.
him myself, but one of the heads, I believe, was in fact called Jennifer Momby. So,
Interesting.
who was played by Elizabeth Masushi. I guess these were two of the other heads, Ilsa Lang and Ev Locust or Locast. So, what did you think about Christopher Lloyd as the Wizard of Oz?
Mm. He did a pretty good job playing the role. Yeah, as you know, there was this one part of his story that left me a bit confused, but we have already discussed that. He did a pretty good job, definitely.
Oh yeah, I thought so too. And there's even a part that kind of reminds me of his role as Doc Brown from Back to the Future, where I guess she tries to tell him about something about the future, and he's like, no, 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 don't tell me anything about the future.
Well, it could have been an intentional reference, as I've already said. This mini-series references multiple other movies throughout the story, so I it could have been intentional.
Yeah, it could have been. I think it was because because in Back to the Future he was always saying things like one can never know too much about the future. You never know what could happen. You could destroy the time space continuum.
Indeed.
So in any case, I think I've said some of my favorites because I, I love the fact the one is coming up with limericks, and they're funny. The Muckadoos.
They are.
I think they're my favorite characters from this miniseries. I'll remember them. Um, and I guess I also did like the fact that her family was more accepting of her adventures really happening in Oz. That they weren't
Mm,
just imagination; they were, in fact, memories. Um,
indeed.
and
Like I said, yes.
unique. It was unique that she actually had real parents, and they were, in fact, seeing her adventures, and up until they died, you know.
Yeah.
That part was kind of sad because they never got to see her again.
Indeed.
Um, but I guess Frank L. Baum wrote the stories that he saw her do, which is fairly similar to Alice in Wonderland a little bit.
Indeed. Uh, this was definitely an interesting reference to the original writer of the story.
Oh yeah, because Frank and I believe was in fact married to someone named Maud. To be honest, L. Frank Baum.
Oh, wow.
But in any case, um, as far as music goes, what did you think about the music?
It was pretty good from what I remember. Uh,
Trying to see if I can find the music. Not really seeing.
Let's see. Oh, soundtracks.
Series sound department, but there's no composer or anything like that. But the sound effects and the sound mixture were Andrew Knopp, Derek Morse, Joe Feel or File, but there really is no composer. So I
I
guess they were just mixers.
Yeah, and I'm surprised there were only three songs. If what IMDb says is
If I
accurate, I
remember
thought.
correctly, one of them was sung by Elizabeth Swanson, or
Uh, yeah, somewhere over the rainbow.
yeah, which I have not listened to yet, but from what I understand, she sang that. So, or
Ooh.
which I would love to actually listen to that after this. But what did you think about this miniseries as a whole again?
Wait, just a moment. I think I was looking at a wrong page about the music or about the soundtrack. I was looking at the IMDb page of the Dorothy and the Witches of Oz, not the miniseries itself. But I sound. It doesn't really say about the soundtrack. That's what you saw, probably.
Yeah,
Oh,
I've not really seen much on that.
yeah. And what I think of the mini-series as a whole, well, like I said, it's definitely very good, very enjoyable, very eventful, maybe a lot going on at the same time, which, as I said, I somewhat struggled with to follow. But like I said, that's my issue. It's not really something bad about the show. It's pretty good. I would definitely recommend it to everyone who likes this sort of fairy tales or who likes the Oz universe generally. Definitely.
A lot of people look like they didn't like it at all.
Oh, why?
Although there are a couple that are like 5 stars and 10 stars, but seems like a lot of people are calling this rubbish or exercible. Wow.
Huh. Well, I guess it's because haters are
One
always
one even
louder
starts off
than.
one even starts off as how to ruin a classic.
Oh my. Well, like I said, haters are louder than people who enjoyed it, I guess.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It has a 4.4 star rating on IMDb. Not that it matters, but I, on a scale of 1 to 5 stars, I hate to give it stars. I hate giving it a scale of 1 to 10. I more or less want other people to enjoy this particular film or mini series. So I'll leave it up to you, our audience, to let us know what you thought of the miniseries down in the comments. I think it's kind of almost rude to give it any kind of a rating. If you want other people to check it out and give their own thoughts, then I think you should leave it open to other people's interpretations of it, just
Well,
like I
then,
will probably.
then maybe you can give it 10 stars so that people check it out in spite of the low ratings, so that it's maybe not 4.4 anymore, but
Well,
something a bit higher.
if I was forced to, I definitely wouldn't give it a low rating. But if
Neither would I.
I was forced, I'd probably give it. If it were out of 1 to 5 stars, I'd probably give it a 4.
Makes sense.
If it was on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably give it a 7.
Fair enough.
So, but that's if I gave it a rating. If I were forced to by gunpoint, but um, I I would say I felt like the Tin Man did the story a better service to me. Although even that one could have used a little bit more world building. I could have dealt with maybe one more episode dealing with the world and the people around it.
Possibly.
Although it would have made it that much longer for us to get through.
Yeah.
But it was one of the that one and what was it? The Shining were two of the longest ones that we've done, wasn't it?
Yes, definitely.
But surprising that we can get these long ones down to like an hour, a good hour and a half, eh?
Somehow, yeah.
But there was a lot going on, but I think we covered most of it. Is there anything else that you think that I may have missed in this particular miniseries?
Mm, Possibly, but nothing is coming to my mind right now.
Nothing to my mind either. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you enjoyed our discussion on this particular film. I liked it. I mean, I had my problems with it at times. Like the pacing was a little slower. Maybe it started to drag a little bit. And I thought like, well, maybe the end is around the corner. And I looked at the time and I'm like, nope. So maybe it's I can sit through long periods of film. The thing is, I don't think it needed to be that long. I think some things could have been cut out, but I would love to have the idea that there are longer cuts that you can see of things, and I like that I could see the full vision that was laid out, and then I like the fact that that there was a film feature of it. The thing is, I would love to have a physical copy of Dorothy and the Witches of Oz. I would love for that to get its own physical, so that maybe we could see the shortened version.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't release it on DVD or something.
But whatever. Um, I enjoyed it for what it was, and I guess my favorite characters I will take from this are frickin' Freck. Uh, so they're kind of like elves on the shelf, kind of an ordeal. If you get my drift, if you've ever seen Saturday Night Live and the Elf on the Shelf short comedy skits,
I've, I've seen memes about Elf on the Shelf.
well, look up Saturday Night Live and the Elf on the Shelf stuff. You'll see some comedy skits that'll probably have you laughing.
Oh, I will.
But in any case, like, share, and subscribe. Hopefully, you use this maybe as a guideline for the film, or miniseries or whatnot. Let us know down in the comments what you thought, and hopefully you just enjoy. Just thought we'd chat this film out, what we thought of it, our dislikes, and our first time viewing. Well, your first time viewing of it. It's at least my second viewing of it.
Cool.
Because I saw it when it was on TV, and then I picked it up, and I haven't watched it since, actually. So I'm glad I got another chance to watch it with you, and maybe understand it in my mind and describe it in my own manner.
Cool.
What did you? One more thing. What did you think about the flying monkeys in this one?
Yeah, they were fairly well done, and there was this one funny moment of when a reporter was telling about what's going on, and he said something like gorillas with wings, and that was supposedly on the TV news, and that's kind of bizarre but hilarious to imagine.
And you had the taxi driver. The taxi driver was on the phone with someone as he was getting out of the taxi. And was like, "Have you ever seen Planet of the Apes?"
Oh, yeah.
But yeah. In any case, thanks for listening, folks, and just come back and enjoy us next week, as I think we will be going on about the steam engines of Oz.
Ooh.
An animated feature.
Ooh.
I did my own thoughts on the matter. I know I stutter from time to time, so bear with me. But yeah, we'll be discussing it as a duo. So, in any case, thank you and enjoy.
Yeah, thank you all.